All right. Seth, what are you eating? Hey, before you answer that, sorry, go ahead, answer that.
Chicken and rice.
Chicken rice. You know what I realized, Seth? I don't do this with anybody else on the podcast, but I think you're so polite. I cut you off more than everybody else.
You
And I
cut
want to
yourself.
I want to publicly apologize to you for cutting you off. I don't mind cutting off Ian because Ian
I
cuts
cut
me
off
off.
everyone
Yeah,
equally
because Ian cuts off everybody. So I don't
all the
care.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I've seen a
I'm
couple.
non-discriminatory. See, I'm doing it to Seth right now in my cutting.
He's
I
trying
saw
to say
people
something.
say
Racist
it.
in many
You
ways.
know what,
But
Ian? Let's just every time he says something, let's just talk.
So
so, Fouad, what's up?
I don't know why, but I wanted to apologize to you.
no, dude. I saw a couple people say it, but then you even text me. I'm like, hey, dude, no, this is fun. This is a blast. Like this is the only podcast where like, not the only one, but this is the one that where people just are themselves. Like,
Yeah.
you get to just bro out and be you. There's stupid things said, fucked up things said, serious things said, and I don't know. It's fun. Blast. I don't care. You say
You
anything.
don't care. All right. Well, I just
No,
wanted to. I wanted to let you know. I felt bad.
See, I'm so bad at doing that all the time that there could be 100 people in the comments saying that you're doing that to Seth, and I would never notice that happens. You know?
It's just normal for you.
Because it can't be worse. It can't be worse than me. Look at this fucking guy.
Holy shit!
man.
What's going on, Chris? Welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. Good to be
How are-
back. It's been
how
a
are-
minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. How are you,
just
man?
rolled out of bed, I see.
Who?
Ian.
No, this is my newly acquired fuckboy hair.
No, he did that on
Oh, me
purpose.
too.
Yeah, I wanted to match.
Yeah.
I wanted to match you for the podcast in solidarity. So
Is this like
Smart
is this the now hair time thing? Like you got to go and get it done, and then you just make the.
and then you
duck-
have to do this specific do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is the the part of the hair transplant in the text of the deal after, like, but you have to wear this specific haircut.
Seth, let me see. Do you have enough to do the fuckboy hair?
No. But I think I'm getting a little high. I think I might need to calm. Like this side's creeping up on me now. This
Hey,
side's still normal, but this
But-
side.
Okay, can I ask you though, Seth? Or I'll ask all of you. Do you guys think there's some guys that look good with the receding hairline?
I don't know if I'm one of them.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like some guys, like Seth, I think you like yours is receding in the proper fashion.
Okay,
Where,
but do you
like,
think you would look better with more hair?
I don't know, kind of
Yeah.
it would look weird to me now. Like I think Seth looks good
Yeah.
with that hair.
His hair looks good. Like I wouldn't look at it and be like, oh yeah, you fucking need to fix that shit. Like where you're bald head, I'm like, yo, you gotta fucking fix that.
I
Like,
don't know. This is perfect. My head's a
No,
perfect.
that's-
My head's a perfect circle. I don't do shit.
yeah, you're lucky.
A lot
at
would
least
look
it's a
fucking
very
weird
brown.
with hair, though.
I would look
I
weird
can't
with hair.
picture hair.
If I shaved my head, I wouldn't look good though. I got like a lumpy head. Like I got just mishaps, and if I had to, I'd do the hair transplant before I went bald, just because like there's a lot of scars, and then I got like little bumps and weird shit. So I don't want.
Have you thought of the hair transplant at all? Are you thinking about doing it, or is it
Yeah.
like way out of your mind?
No, huh? I mean, I'd love to take the trip, but I don't need to yet. Like if I had to, like I said, even my barber was like, hey, he's like, we gotta make sure we leave enough here on this side because you got a couple bumps that are ugly. I'm like, thanks for.
Yeah, but wait a minute. But hold on, I got a question.
Head.
But I got a question for you. So, if you wait till it's too far gone and then you get your hair done, it's gonna look stupid. Like people are gonna be like, "What the fuck?" Whereas if you get it done now, it's like it's only a little bit, so nobody will really notice. It'll
Yeah,
just be like,
I agree, but I disagree. How old are you, Seth?
I'll be 40 in 2 weeks.
So I think you stop losing like your native hair by like mid to late 40s to 50. And after that, kind of what you have is what you're kind of stuck with for the rest of your life. So I
Okay.
think if you waited till, another 5 years, I think then it's like, okay, you've achieved maximal loss and then you can get it done. So then you're not going to like, because there's a good chance like I could have now this fucking ridge and then I still lose all the rest of my hair. And then
that would be awesome, dude. I would be
Yeah.
in heaven if you lost the rest of your hair.
Yeah.
If you
There's
just
a guy
had
at my gym. Sorry,
if you
go
just had the duck bill and nothing else, oh my god, it would be fucking amazing.
There's a guy at our gym. I don't know if I've told this before that went to Turkey to get his hair done, and he didn't have good like donor hairs on the side. So they're like, hey man, we can only pull enough out of here. Like, and he was completely bald on top. And he's like, you can either do the front or the back. So like pick. And he was already all the way down Turkey. So he's like, well, fuck, I'm not going to just say no and do nothing. So
Yeah.
he did just the front. So he has like a strip here and then like a perfect circle of bald, like where it's like
No,
chrome dome, like yours bald in the back. Yeah.
that's
That's a tough
worse. I
one.
would just go bald instead of just having an island.
And
Fuck
he
that.
combs it over. So it's like combed over, but then
Oh.
like perfectly, you know,
I think
he
there's a
should
certain.
almost commit to, he should almost like be a Jew now and wear a little cap so he can just cover it up, you know?
I don't know. I don't know if this is wrong, but is there? Do you think there's a period of where like there's an acceptance that's good for you, where you're like, okay, this it's gone, it's too late, I accept it, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, you obviously came to that point at some point. When was
I
that?
came to that point like 10 years ago.
Like, fuck it, it's gone. Zip
You know what happened? I was taking
the Mohawk and then
I've told this before on the podcast. I was taking ProScar and my hair was doing pretty good. Like, you know, it was a little thin, but like it was all right. And then I stopped taking ProScar and it started to fall out. And then when I started ProScar again, it was too late.
yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna fucking get rid of it now.
You can always tell a guy's feeling insecure about his hair loss when he starts to do the little faux hawk like you did, you know?
No, that wasn't it. That's not why I did it.
Mohawk, you know?
No,
you'll see
because
that.
because I did the Mohawk when I still had all my hair.
Really?
Yeah, if you go back to like my stage shots from like 2008, fuck you, Seth.
So you were just out of style. You weren't compensated.
That was the style back then. If you remember, it was me and like Jason Huh
yeah.
had the Mohawk.
Yeah.
And it was I'd get fans come up to me at an expo and they'd have a fucking Mohawk. They'd be like, I did this because of your hair. And I'm like, it was like a thing for a little while. And then I think I just carried it out way too long.
Yeah.
But I think losing the hair is what made it stick around.
Yeah.
But I started it with good intentions.
Cool.
Anyway, Chris, how are you, man? I just came on here to talk about our hair.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
What's going on, man?
I'm about to just chrome dome myself.
Are you? You just gonna fuck it. Just get rid of it all.
Yeah, we're getting old.
I want to talk to you about a bunch of things. I know you got, the first question, the most obvious question. You've never, I don't know, I want to say never, but it's been a long time since you prepped back to back. How does it feel to like retire and then not retire?
Oh, it sucks. It's horrible. I don't know how people bounce shows back together. I was so like looking forward to just being done and being free and just like letting loose.
Yeah.
And then having to turn that dial back on mentally was way harder than just easing into a prep over 16 weeks.
Right.
It was tough. It took me a while to properly do it. And even now, like Courtney always fucks with me before prep. I'm like, I'm gonna go pescatarian. I love fish so much.
Yeah.
I can eat fish all day, every day.
Right.
And then now I can't. I can't even smell cod right now. I literally smelled like a bikini girl for like 3 weeks, just reeking of cod. Like my whole floor at the hotel did. And now I'm just over it. So I'm like, I'm not gonna eat that. So I'm eating like ketchup and ground turkey and steak and But luckily I'm an open bodybuilder, so I don't have to diet as hard as I used to.
Are you? Do you think
that's a subtle chirp at us? I think right there.
I think it was, yes. Do you think going
I
into
think
open
Ian gets away with it, but
do you think going into open will allow you to be a little softer, or are you not looking at it that way?
I would like to be just fuller. And if I have to sacrifice some of my like dry sharpness, I'm willing to do that for this. It is also just selfishly, not whether or not I think it's going to be a better look to win, but selfishly, I just want to see what I look like actually being full. Because I've always kind of said it's easy for me to make weight, but it's really not. I just like really push myself down to get under there.
Right.
And I'm usually so depleted, I can't fill back up in 2 days.
Right.
But like to the full extent that I would like to see on stage. So I just don't want to do that this time. And that's kind of the point of this show is like, I'm done. I'm in shape. Let's see what my body looks like doing a different style, maybe pushing down a little less hard, filling up a little bit more, sacrificing maybe a little bit of that sharpness just to be really full and see what happens.
I don't think I've ever asked Ian this because obviously Ian coached you for so long, he would know, but what weight is it where you're the happiest? Like when you're getting ready for the Olympia, before you have to start losing muscle to make weight, what weight is it where you look in the mirror and go, this is my best ultimate look? Is it like 255? Is it 250? Like how much weight are you losing from your happiest to actually get into the classic class?
It's hard to say. I mean, we all know like looking at check-ins and post-workout pictures, you look full as a house and you feel great, but that look's not going to look as good on stage. You're going to look more watery once you have the tan and under the lights and everything. But I would say at like 250, I'm normally like, fuck yeah. Like I have my delts are still around, my chest is popping, my back is still around, everything's like full and I'm lean. I have lines in my glutes and I feel really good. And then chipping down another like 9 pounds from there, I normally start to like lose that like fullness that kind of gets me fired up.
I wanted to ask you about retirement. So you retired on the Olympia stage. I was sitting there with Ian. It was an emotional moment for sure. Um, being with a fully retired guy and two half retired guys. We all kind of know what it feels like to retire, obviously. So, what I want to ask you this one specific question: what is your happiest? And I don't know if you've probably had the chance to feel it yet because you're back in prep. But what would be your happiest thing about retiring? Like, what is the thing that you're not going to miss? Where you're like, I don't have to do that anymore. I get to just move on with my life.
I think the biggest one is just the constant mental pressure
Okay.
of like I give myself like a little bit of downtime after Olympia, but then it's I'm like, fuck, now I'm behind. Like, what should Mr. Olympia look like? Like, if
Right.
I'm trying to represent classic physique Mr. Olympia, what do I need to look like right now? Like, I know I look good, but I don't look like I need to look like to win the Olympia. And having that constant pressure of just kind of like worrying about making sure everything's on point and everything's on track, you're looking good, sleeping good, like just that overarching pressure that making sure everything's kind of like in line
Yeah.
to make sure that at the end of the year that I'm best in the world in the Olympia stage. That just ease of pressure, I think, is something I'm very much looking forward to. And I think it's just gonna like open like in the cheesiest way, like my heart to more energy, to
Right.
have
Right.
more
Right.
more abundance, to like live more aspects of my life, pour more into other aspects of my life, because that's not always on the background of my mind, making sure that that's all good and that's okay and that's all set. I
Yeah.
can just be fully present in every other aspect of my life.
So this just pulls out like a whole bunch of questions that I have for you that we always talk about on the podcast, but we don't usually have a Mr. Olympia here to ask. Um, but first, since you mentioned pressure, one of your taglines is that pressure is a privilege. And that really resonated with me because pressure to me was always a negative thing. Like when I felt pressure,
Mhm.
it usually meant I was going to look worse than look better. So when you say pressure is a privilege, how did you learn? Did you always know, or is it something you taught yourself to use the pressure in a positive manner? Or is it something you just did from the start?
I definitely didn't do it from the start. And it's honestly, it's a lesson that I have to continue to reteach myself.
Yeah.
It's not like I just had this like awakening where I was like, this is a privilege. This is beautiful. It's kind of like a back and forth of like shifting my perspective where like I feel overwhelmed and I'm like miserable and kind of like, you know, and then I realized like there's this like internal scorecard I have, an external scorecard of like what other people are thinking, what I'm chasing out there versus what I know I'm doing in myself. And
Hmm.
the more I'm pouring into that external and worrying about that, that's when it stops feeling like a privilege. And when I'm able to actually be like looking into myself and being grateful for what I'm doing and proud of the work I'm doing and seeking goals that are important to me, it alleviates that a little bit. But no, it's definitely one of the things where I started my career as an underdog and it was just nothing but exciting.
Yeah.
And even 2019, I won, but it was like, should he have won? Should he have not? Going to 2020, it still didn't feel like there was a lot of pressure on me. It was like, did he even deserve it? It was still like that underdog excitement. And in 2020 was when I like shut the door. And after that, I was like, fuck, now like I showed what I'm capable of. And now this pressure's on. And that's when it started to kind of stress me out more. And I felt like I had to do these things rather than it was a privilege that I get to do these things. And it was kind of like a back and forth, like just remembering people often talk about you forget why you start something,
Right.
you kind of get caught up in bodybuilding turns into a career, turns into a job. The pressure comes in, you start to lose the fun, and I started to lose that edge a little bit. And, I've had multiple occurrences, even this year. Someone commented on my video actually, and it just kind of slapped me in the face. I'm like, Chris seems like he's like struggling to get through this prep. He's like pushing just to get his meals in, to get to the gym. And I felt like that. And
Yeah.
then they compared me to Wesley, and they're like, Wesley looks like he's just a child on the playground, just having fun. And I was like, what the
Right.
fuck? Like,
Yeah.
and I knew I was retiring. I'm like, this is the last time I'm ever gonna do this.
Right.
I fucking love this sport. I love training. I look fucking crazy. Like, you should be enjoying this. This is a privilege. And just kind of that slap in the face for me to kind of pull that back, let me kind of slow down a little bit and focus more on just enjoying it and slowing down
Yeah.
essentially and taking off that pressure of what was expected.
It's interesting you said that because one of the things that is synonymous with anxiety is thinking too far into the future or thinking too far into the past and just not being present. And
Hmm.
to me, anxiety and pressure kind of go hand in hand. And when you say you had to stop and be grateful and kind of reset, it's almost like if I'm getting what you're saying properly, it's almost like you're saying you had to bring yourself back to being present, which eliminates
Yeah.
some of that anxiety and brings down the pressure a little bit, brings down the heat. Is that kind of
Hmm.
in line with what you're saying? Like
Yeah,
I
absolutely. I
guess I
mean,
got sorry, I guess I got the main point I got from it was being grateful. When you said being grateful, to me that also coincides with being present.
yeah. I think being able to look at pressure at being a privilege is the concept of being able to create the perception of being grateful and
Right.
being present and being in the moment, you know?
Right.
Even all like spiritual religious things like Christianity, being with God is about being present.
Right.
You know, when people talk about like what does God want? God wants you to rest and to put faith in him and be present in a moment with him. And you know, Buddhism about being present, releasing stress and anxiety is about being present. All these things are
Right.
kind of teaching the same lesson. And I think there's something important to pull from that. And when you can slow yourself down and just like be in the moment and kind of like pull your perspective back to a bird's eye view and look at yourself and be like,
Mhm.
fuck, like this is cool. I'm just going to the gym and eating protein. Like I should be having fucking time in my life for this.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you can do that, then you know, everything starts to flow a lot better.
So Ian, I know you were probably a little more, I mean, you were able to control your anxiety to the point where you did much better than I did, but I know you dealt with a little bit of anxiety. Seth, I don't remember talking to you specifically about, you never seemed like you had anxiety about competing or anything like that. Am I right about that, or did I just not know you well enough to dig into that?
Don't know me well enough to dig into it. I'm a fucking head case. I'm a massive head case. I will have a chapter in Honey Rambod's book.
Yeah.
That man would he'd bring me down so hard for the two shows for nationals and my pro debut. He brought me down so hard because he knew that like I would freak out. My cortisol levels would shoot up, but there would be nothing left in me. There'd be
Right.
no fat. There'd be nothing left in me for there ever to be like something go wrong.
Right.
So like, and then the one time that we didn't do that, I ended up falling apart. Like,
Is that the
so
one is that when you were fat on stage?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Not fat, but fat for you.
well, yeah, no, I mean, I had a specific look. I mean, that's why I'm kind of chasing this back in my head now. Is like I'm like that feeling of just being absolutely bone dry, shredded, ignorant, just nasty. Like that, it's the most one of the most unique feelings you can have, and
Mm.
I want to relive it. But it's the anxiety side of it for me was just I just live in my head, and I think I put a lot of pressure on myself in the way that it was what I thought everyone else would expect of me. And I'm like, I should have just had more fun with it. I
Yeah.
should have just been
Yeah.
like we're talking
It's
about, being more present and having more fun
it's
rather
hard.
than
It's hard in hindsight to know that though. That's what I like about Chris's tagline, I guess. I'm keep calling it that, but the pressure is a privilege thing is most people don't understand that until it's too late.
Yeah. Like
Hmm.
you
Like,
would have that concept in hindsight. Like I had moments in my career where I like was able to, take a step back and be like, man, like I'm very grateful for what I'm doing. Like this is crazy. I'm literally like flying around the world. But for the most
yeah.
part, most of that came in hindsight.
Yeah.
A lot of it came. There was like flickers of it here and there. But when I look at my career in retrospect, like a lot of it flew by so fast, and like I barely even remember it. When I think of it, I'm like, it's hard for me. I'm like, I can remember it because I can see pictures on Instagram and remember like that it happened. But
Yeah.
like actually the moment of like what I felt in the moment and like what was actually like going through my head and like, the emotions that evoked in me within the moment, like I can't really even remember it because I was
Mhm.
like, I was thinking about, I wasn't present is the obviously the concept, I was thinking of like what was next or, something that was going on previously, like thinking back to the past or, wasn't remaining in that moment. So my mind was kind of, distracted from like, the gratefulness and the beauty of like what was actually going on around me in my career.
Do you think and I'll ask you, Seth and Ian, do you think well, Seth, for sure you're going back. Ian, I know it's still a maybe, but if you go back, do you think you'll have enough wherewithal to do it differently? Or do you think when you flip that switch, you'll just go back to being that crazy fucking person that can't get it quieted down?
I don't know, but like what Chris is just saying, and it's like you have to work at it.
Yeah.
Like you have to work at it. Like it doesn't just this, it's constantly an everyday thought.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like I just want to live much more presently in it. Like I want to feel it. I want to look at it. I want to be able to kind of take myself out of it because over the past 10 years, especially over the past 5, with everything that I've done in business, it's tremendous. It's great. But then I'm like, I'm just in it all the time. I'm not actually living it. I'm not actually present watching myself do these things. And I don't take a step back and be able to look at it all and be like, this is absolutely insane.
Right.
And recently I've been doing more of it. And that's kind of why this whole thing has come up, how much I miss bodybuilding, how much I didn't do in my career, and how much I want to relive it and feel it again in a different way.
Mm.
And even if it is only for a short period of time, like I want to.
And that's honestly part of the beauty of the challenge, I think, of you redoing this in a sense, you know, not redoing, but doing it again is like, yeah, there's obviously the aspirations of getting your physique to that point and pushing your body and stuff like that. You know, that's all fun and part of bodybuilding, but it's also like, how can I approach this different mentally? Like it's a whole separate set of challenges. Like, can I approach this in a way where I'm more present, enjoy it more? Like, you know, all these kind of things is a whole like different slew of things about trying this again and trying it differently. You know, so that's, I think it's a really like fun challenge as well to be like, hey, can I step out of this and be like, you know, really proud and present of like how I absorbed that whole process and, you know, all the opportunities that came with it too, from, you know, business or whatever it is too, like all these things that are like, you can be actually present, enjoy, be grateful for what happened during it, you know?
So
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit twofold. Chris, can I ask you this? Like, as a six-time Olympian, and I know you said when you were done, you'd take a break and then you'd start to feel the pressure again. But was there a point in your career where you were like, I'm so fucking dominant that I have less pressure? Or was it that you were so dominant that the pressure was greater that you had to prove that you were dominant time after time? Like, I kind of feel like I could see it both ways, but I don't know how you felt during the 6 years that you were winning.
Yeah, I would say it more so just kind of compiled up more and more.
Oh,
Like,
really?
and I didn't always feel like I was as dominant as I was, I don't think. And then there was times when I did feel like that, and then I was like, fuck, I need to really like I, I don't feel like I'm that dominant. They think I am, but then I actually really need to be even more dominant so that I feel like I am. And it kind of compiled on. And
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other
yeah.
funny thing is when I was just thinking when Seth was talking about there and coming in and wanting to do this in a better way, sometimes you build pressure on yourself and an expectation to be more present and to enjoy it more. You know, and then you're like, fuck, I should be being more present and enjoying this more. And I
Yeah,
should be better. And then it's like this fucking
yeah,
back and
yeah,
forth
yeah,
chaos.
yeah,
And you know, it's one of those things where like my brain works it tries to work very logically. So when I start to like stress about something, that's what I'll do. I'll be like, well, fuck, like life's great. You should be present. Why the fuck aren't you just happy enjoying this?
yeah, yeah.
Rather than what I had to learn, and I still continuously need these reminders, is to be like, you know what? If you feel like shit right now and you're stressed out, like actually feel like shit and be stressed out. Don't
Yeah.
just push it away and tell yourself you shouldn't feel like that right now, but give
Right.
yourself the space to feel that so it can actually move through you
Yeah.
and then process it and then work your way back to what you need to be present. And, you know, I think something that at least has helped me a lot is being able to vocalize that.
Yeah.
You know, like me being able to talk to Courtney in the moments where instead of me being like, I feel all this pressure and I'm really stressed out, but you shouldn't, so just move on, ball it down, get to the gym, feel better. It
Right.
was like, if I went to her and like, I'm still not very good at it, but the odd time I would be like, babe, I feel like fucking stressed out right now. Like I feel very overwhelmed. Like I
Yeah.
thought everything was great. And I'm like, yeah, but and I actually let it out and like vocalize it, verbalize it.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of pressure release that came out of that,
Yeah.
just from saying it out loud and nothing changing,
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
Well,
Or it's,
I think,
it's like the concept of like thinking about not thinking about something and then you think about it more,
yeah.
you know? It's
But I
like when
think,
Yeah.
like, hey, like clear your mind and like just don't think about it. And then by doing that, you're actually now thinking about it more because you're trying to not think about it, you
right,
know?
right. But going to Chris's point, I think it's, I mean, part of the reason I started talking about anxiety publicly, like, man, I would be out to dinner with people and I'd be feeling anxious and they'd be like, what's wrong? And I would tell them all about my anxiety,
Yeah.
which was a great like dinner conversation. But
Just vomit it all
yeah,
over the
It's you. You're the problem right now. I can't stand being around you.
but the point was, to Chris's point, this is like talking about it actually helped my anxiety and helped me overall. So I guess I totally understand the fact that sometimes just
for sure.
getting it out is the right way to go about it. Um, so there's another thing that always comes up on the podcast, and I think you've kind of answered it already, Chris, but I'm just going to ask you anyway. Sometimes we talk about people that become Mr. Olympias, like we talk about Phil Heath. Ronnie Coleman was a little bit different story. So I'm going to use Phil Heath because Phil Heath kind of came out of nowhere somewhat and all of a sudden just became Mr. Olympia for 7 years straight, which is a little bit like your story. So people like that, do they think Like when I turned pro and I wanted to be, I never thought to myself, I want to be Mr. Olympia. I just thought I just want to be a pro. I want to be a good pro. That's all I thought. People that become Mr. Olympias, do they think that? Do they believe that? Do they already have that in their head? Like, are they like, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia one day, and then it comes true? Or is it a confidence that's built over show after show after show and stacked on top of each other?
I don't think there's a box that you can put and say champions think like this.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
all probably think in their own way. I'm sure
Right.
there's similarities and maybe some do more. I've heard a lot of people having a lot more belief in themselves than I did,
Okay.
but I wasn't that guy at the beginning for sure. I had definitely, I had a lot of doubt in each step in front of me. I believed I could accomplish it, but I also kept kind of telling myself I need to do it before I really believe it.
Okay.
But I didn't start bodybuilding. I didn't even go to the Olympia thinking I was going to win. I was just kind of like taking it one step at a time. And it took me, winning the Olympia for a couple of years to really like Melissa used to give me shit for this. She's like, "You're gonna win the show. Just like say you're gonna win the show." I'm like, "I can't say I'm gonna win the show. I haven't won the
Yeah.
show yet."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
this year leading into it and doing all this shit, I was like, I'm gonna win the Olympia, Like no
Yeah.
one's gonna fucking beat me this year. And I didn't say it like that intensely,
Right.
but I thought
Right.
that and I vocalized out loud. I'm like, yeah, when I win this year, when I do that press conference, the Superstar seminar on Sunday afterwards, I was
Yeah.
like booking brunch based off the Superstar seminar because I
Right.
knew I was gonna
Right.
be there,
Right. Right. Right.
like little things like that that just kind of slowly shifted over time. But for me, it was definitely more so confidence built over time. And
Okay.
I've felt, and learning amongst anxious people, we all have our own thing that build anxiety. But if I put out something that I didn't believe and I said it out loud, that made me 10 times more
Yeah.
anxious.
Yeah.
So if I didn't believe I was going to win or I didn't have belief and I threw out some bullshit like, fuck yeah, I'm going to win the Olympia,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, I didn't believe that, then I would create a ball of anxiety amongst myself. So I'd rather, even this show, I'm like, people are like, are you going to win? I'm like, no,
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
win, I'll be absolutely shocked.
Yeah.
But I'm just speaking my truth. And by
Right.
being more truthful in myself, it kind of creates more confidence and, less anxiety in myself.
I like that. I think I approach things kind of similar way. I wanted to ask though, because a lot of people are like fake it till you make it kind of bullshit, right? So
Mhm.
you're not kind of with that whole thing. Like you're not like one of these guys that like, oh, speak it into existence, even if you don't believe it. You're saying what you believe. You're not saying something that you don't believe.
Yeah. Like if there's any truth to manifestation, the whole point of it isn't that you're saying shit, making it happen, it's you're believing something.
Right.
And then it's more likely to happen.
Yeah.
Like if you really in your heart believe something's gonna happen, yeah, I do believe it's more likely to happen. But if you're just spitting out bullshit, I
Yeah.
don't think that means anything.
Seth, do you think that's what people get wrong about visualization and speaking it into existence? Do you think people forget the part that Chris just mentioned, which is like you actually have to believe it before you fucking say it?
I mean, maybe a little bit of both, but for the most part, I think that, Chris hit it on the head. You have to believe it. I think people that say it, they begin to believe it that way. Like, however they get to that destination, they're going to do. Like people that say they look at themselves in the mirror and they start talking to themselves. Like, somebody saying you have to start verbalizing these things just to yourself, like to build your confidence up, to
Okay,
make you believe in yourself.
okay, I know I apologize for cutting you off earlier in the podcast, but I'm going to cut you off right now for a second.
Okay, yeah, have at it.
Okay,
Let's have it.
but that it's kind of contradictory almost because you're saying we need to say it so that eventually we believe it. But what Chris is saying is you have to believe it if you're going to say it, or else you're just going to create more anxiety for yourself. So, kind of which one is it for the
For
kid
me.
watch? Yeah, yeah, for
I
you.
think
That's
it's
what
I
that's
think
what
it's
works for
different
me.
for
Yeah.
I think it's different for everybody.
Okay.
I think it's a personality thing in the beginning, and then what happens if what Chris is saying doesn't work for that person? Like they
Right.
go at it for a long time, and they're just living in their own head. They build up all these different emotions inside, and somebody's like, "Hey, do you ever like take the time to talk yourself in the mirror? Like have an open conversation with yourself, looking yourself dead in the eye in the mirror, saying, "Hello, Seth. Today, you're going to go fuck shit up. You got to believe in yourself. Have that conversation with yourself."
Do you do
Like,
that? Wait, do you do that in the morning? I want to know if you do that every day.
no, not now. No, I
Okay.
have.
Oh, you have.
Oh yeah, dude. I've had to like, whenever you're
I don't
super
think I've ever done it in the mirror. I think I've done that, but I don't think I've done it in the mirror.
oh
Ian,
yeah.
Ian, have you looked in the mirror and talked to yourself?
Bro, do you think I've ever done that? I'm just picturing Seth like some scene from American Psycho with Christian
Yeah.
Bale.
Yeah.
Our slick back hair, like standing over the counter, be like,
Yeah.
you know,
We're gonna fuck shit up today.
yeah, fuck shit up today.
But I mean,
Well,
I think
I think the
everybody has
reason,
their own way.
yeah, I think the reason I resonate with what Chris said is because I could never say I'm going to win a show.
No.
Because
Are
if
we
I
talking
said it, if
about-
I said it and I didn't believe it, it would fuck me right up.
Are we talking about in public, or are we talking about it to yourself?
I think it's
I'm
one
talking
thing.
I'm talking more in public. I'm not sure what Chris meant. I think Chris meant in public too, right, Chris? Or no?
Yeah, I mean, private and public.
It's kind of the same, but more I'm thinking more I was thinking more public.
If you're in the privacy of yourself, like say you're having trouble building yourself up, you're
Right.
trying to build your self-confidence up,
Right.
and you're not doing, and like what you're doing it's not hitting for you. Something's not clicking in your head, and that's where it comes in. Have a private conversation with yourself. You know,
I think that I agree with Seth. I meant more I meant more like when you see people go on podcasts or they do videos on Instagram or whatever, and they're talking all this shit. And I'm like, is that really helping that person? Do they really believe that, or are they faking it till they make it kind of thing? Like,
no, don't
Yeah,
do
but
that.
I agree with Chris in that like there's a million ways to skin a cat with this. You know, some guys like motivate themselves. Like I know there's guys that can do that fake it till you make it, and it like really does a lot for them. You know,
right.
Like they can sit there and they don't necessarily believe something, but they can like in their mind they think if they like believe it hard enough and speak it into existence that it will happen, and that doesn't create a higher level of pressure for them. I'm not that way at all. Like I
Right.
can't feel that I'm like not being true, like I'm vocalizing something, or even to myself that I don't actually believe, you know, because I can like
Right.
feel that I'm saying bullshit, you know,
Right.
like, you know, like I've gone into shows where I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna win, like it's, you know, blah blah blah, but like I feel like I can do this, or I'm gonna be third here, fourth here, whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that reality. But like you said, this could also have been a limiting factor in my life, and I'm not really sure. You can't know until you know, you know. So it could have been a mindset that was limiting me as well. So it's tough to say, right?
Hey, don't go put
I think
me
it's
in
also-
the fucking category of I'm cutting Chris off now. Don't go put me into the category of going and talking shit, being like I'm gonna fucking.
I
kill
didn't put you in
everybody
that category.
publicly. No, don't do that.
That's the fucking shit talk.
That's not what I was saying at all. I was just trying to. I'm just trying to.
No,
I can think. Listen, I can think of somebody that is along the same lines that Iain said. I think Nick Walker is like that, and that's not a negative thing. I think Nick says what he wants, says what he thinks, and he probably believes it, and he says it out loud and says it to the world.
But see, there's the
And
difference.
then, but I think it builds pressure. But it's funny. I think Nick actually thrives on that pressure.
Yeah.
Like I think he enjoys that. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
personality.
think Nick
trait.
thrives as an underdog, or when he's talked out of the conversation, especially.
yeah,
But when I think that he feels that people don't expect him to win and that he believes he can, I think that's when he does the best work. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of like a mixture of things in there, you know.
sorry, Chris,
Also
you were going to
depends
say.
on it kind of depends on what you mean by thrives. This is not talking about Nick, but thriving under pressure. Or, you know, like some people when they're talking about pressure, it's like from a point of like shame. If you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, you're a fucking worthless piece of shit, like blah, blah, blah. And some people that makes them go work harder and then, you know, go fucking become Mr. Olympia, but they're miserable. They hate their life. They're fucking yelling at their wife behind closed doors and they're a piece of shit. Are you thriving? Are you winning?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
is that worth it? Or if you're telling yourself like, you know, you're creating this pressure, I'm going to win the Olympia. You don't really believe it, but the pressure it's creating is kind of pushing you to be better for a little bit. But after a while, you start to crack and then you become inconsistent and then you're not happy, you're miserable, you're not enjoying it, you're not being able to be present in the journey. Like, you know, like, even if you're winning on stage, but you fucking hate your life, like,
Is it worth it? Yeah.
is that worth it?
Yeah. Chris, I'm sure you've probably been asked this question a million times, and if not, I'm sure you're going to be asked it a million times. Is this like a Michael Jordan kind of thing or an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing where you like retire and then you come back and just get your title back one day? Like, are we going to see you on stage again in 3 years where you're like, you know what, I kind of miss it? Because I'm going to tell you, from somebody who's been retired for 10 years or 5 years, whatever the fuck it is, you start to miss that pressure. So I'm like, I wonder, are you going to find that pressure in some other, like in, you know, I know you have multiple businesses. Like, are you going to find that pressure there, or is the singular pressure of bodybuilding different than business pressure?
I don't think anything will ever compare to what I just did for the last 6 years.
Right. That's
You know,
what
and I think whether I come back in a year from now or in 2 years or never or whatever, I know for a fact I will always be like, fuck, like that was pretty sweet, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, we all grew up watching sports movies or fucking Michael Jordan or, Wayne Gretzky, Tiger Woods, and like the people competing to be the best in the world or something. Like I got to do that for 6 years. And
Yeah.
I'm very well aware that nothing will compare to that
Yeah.
in that same sense. There will be other beautiful things in my life,
Right.
but not to that same extent, you know? Not walking into a room and people being like, fuck, like competitors asking you
Yeah.
for a picture, people
Yeah.
being like joking about you, asking when I'm going to retire because they want a chance to win, like just like security bringing me in back doors, just fucking walking in big dick energy like that.
Yeah.
Like I'll never have that same kind of like
I think you're
fame
still going to have
excitement
that
Well,
for a
again.
but
little
I,
bit. I
but
think
but
you're still
I'm,
going to have that part.
yeah, you're probably
Maybe
gonna have it for a
not
while.
at the
Yeah.
Olympia
I
like
don't think
that
that's going
though.
anywhere.
Yeah, that's not gonna go
Not
anywhere.
to that
But
extent.
I don't mean that shit. That I look, I can, well, I don't understand it to your level, of course, but I know what you mean about that part of it. I'm talking more about in your house when you're by yourself. Like one of the things I miss about bodybuilding was the pressure. And me and Ian have talked about this after he retired too. Like, Ian started running for a little while, and it was almost like, and I did like jujitsu, and you start trying to chase these other things where you can progress the way you did in bodybuilding. And then you're like, oh fuck, there's nothing that's actually going to compare to that. So I guess I'm
Mhm.
kind of asking, I don't mean as much in a sense of your popularity or your winning. I mean more in a sense of just your day to day. Do you think there'll come a time where you're like, I just kind of miss the grind? Because no other grind is really the same. Like when you run a business, you run it with multiple people. It's not really
Mhm.
the same as the singular grind
Individual
that,
pursuit,
yeah, the
yeah.
individual pursuit that comes with bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'll miss it, you know. You guys have more experience being retired than I do, but I have no doubt about that. And I've already had moments now, where I'm still in prep now, but thinking of this part of my life going being over and like just the control you have over it too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like so much stuff can go wrong all the time and it can be this person's fault, all these things going wrong, but like bodybuilding, you have a pretty good level of control
Yeah.
over everything
Yeah.
and that monotonous day to day, like you said, just driving constant progress every single day. And
And
I have no
I'm
doubt
sure.
on it. I can't tell you what it's going to feel like.
Yeah.
There's going to be moments when I do. Do I right now, do I think I'm going to come back? No, but
Yeah.
this shit change maybe, but
Yeah.
it's hard for me to imagine me doing it again.
That's a good thing to know too, is like the control. And I think, Fuad's been around me to know how much like,
I'm the
you know,
same way as you.
we'll,
Yeah.
we'll be sitting at like dinner. I'm like telling Fuad what to order, and he's like, bro, can you fucking stop doing this? Like, like
Yeah.
control is one thing that like I really, and it's something I need to work on for sure. Cause it's not like a good habit necessarily. And it was obviously helped me, excel in bodybuilding, but it's probably what I missed the most and why, over time it was like the thing that I felt I needed to run away from,
Yeah.
is having that level of control. So I like didn't eat as consistently and I'm trying new things and all that. But then over time, like the control is what I like thrived, like having
Yeah.
control over my life and like, feeling like everything was like so, in a tight line like that, with the food and the training and the schedule and like, those things are the things that I think, talking about missing in bodybuilding is probably what I miss the most is like,
Right.
having so much control over my day and my life. Obviously there's ways you can have that in, you can do this and still not be a bodybuilder, but in terms of like that rigorous control that you have in that world is definitely what I miss the most.
Seth, was there a period of time? I know your retirement is very different than mine or Ian's. But was there a time, and I know you eat like a bodybuilder now, but was there a time when you retired where you did take a breather and get away from it? And did you come back to it because you missed it? Like, did you come back? And I don't mean the stage. I mean, you eat like a bodybuilder every day. So you obviously like that regimented kind of lifestyle and the control as Chris would say. Was there a period of time where you got away from that and then had to come back to it, or did you always just want that level of control?
No, I mean, right now, I love the control aspect of my life. Like what I'm doing now with my regiment, with my routine, with everything. I have a goal in my head that I want to achieve. Me personally, I do better whenever I have a goal, like
Yeah.
physically. Oh man, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so much more clear. So if I don't have it, things in my life kind of start becoming less of a priority. Right now, like I prioritize my food, my training, my family, the kid time, husband time, all of my chores around the house, routine things. Like I am that much better. And years ago, like I just didn't have a priority. I was just like stay in shape. Make sure
Okay.
your heart rate's under control. Make sure, your resting heart rate is, under 60 beats a minute. Make sure your blood pressure is good. Make sure you're getting in
Under
this,
60
that.
beats.
Huh?
Under 60 beats?
Oh,
Well, I
dude.
can't relate. He's in
Dude,
constant
my
110.
heart rate's over 60 when I'm sleeping, for fuck's sakes.
Well, not anymore. But whenever I was training, like doing the functional stuff. So, I mean, when I was doing that, like everything was great.
Yeah.
But me personally, like my mind operates so much better, like for prioritizing things in this setting that I'm in
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So, like being back in it, I can tell you that I am a bodybuilder through and through, and I love it to death. But um, there's been so many times looking back on it that I'm like, man, I was like chaotic. Like I was
Yeah.
here, I was there, I was there, I was there.
Yeah,
I was up, down.
there's like a limbo period when you retire where you're like, what the fuck do I do with myself?
Yes.
It's like it's kind of a scary thing. Like, Chris, I know you probably can't even anticipate it right now, but there's a period of time, like in the first 6 months or a year after you retire, where you're like, do I eat a sandwich? Do I eat a steak? What do I fucking do? Like, do I go to the gym? Like, do I
See,
not
I didn't
like,
get that till like 6 months after. The first 6 months, I just
yeah,
like threw it all away, and I'm like, this is
yeah,
awesome. I can do whatever I want. And then at 6 months, I'm like, now what? Now what do I do?
yeah, yeah. It's almost like
Okay.
then you want to go back to the regimen because you're
That's
like,
wanting that
yeah,
control and wanting that like purpose that was like so linear and driven. Like, Seth saying having that routine that was with like a direct goal of like, I'm getting on stage at this date. I need to have these things in order to get there at this time.
yeah.
I think that's like the comforting part as a bodybuilder, right?
Chris, is there a point or is there a part of you that wants to just do nothing? Like, do you want to like wake up and go, I don't have fuck all to do. I'm gonna have a piece of cake for breakfast.
No, I
No,
used to think that, but absolutely not. No,
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 okay.
my life is fucking so busy right now that I don't
Yeah,
even know
I get.
how I'm prepping. And being able to take away bodybuilding prep right now, I'm barely even gonna have time to do what I have to do outside of bodybuilding. So I don't know. And you see, I feel like Ian can attest to this, but I'm definitely like one of the least bodybuilders of bodybuilders. Like
Why do you say that?
I'm not. I just feel like whenever I'm like hanging out with other bodybuilders and stuff like that, I'm like a little bit less like worried about the control and a little bit more relaxed. If I'm like, oh fuck, I missed this meal, I'll have two tomorrow. Like
Yeah,
in prep this year, like at my best, I was very like flowing. I'd wake up and be like, I dropped a pound, honey's still asleep. I'm not gonna do cardio today, and I'm gonna eat a little extra of this, and I know that's what my
yeah,
body needs, and just kind of like flow through. And that's when I was at my best. And wanted to think that I would just be able to let go of it, and I also don't want to be that ignorant in thinking that because I technically like retired last year,
yeah,
and that only
yeah.
lasted 3 months, and I ended up doing this
Back
Olympia
here.
again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
clearly, I didn't think it was going to be as easy as I thought, but there's no part of me that wants to do nothing. No, I'll
Do
definitely, I want to maintain busy and structure. But the other thing though is I have this like weird desire to do ayahuasca. And I
okay.
think it's because I want to learn how to let go of wanting to control things.
Right,
So,
right,
like, will I come back to this point of wanting to have all this control? Yes. But I would also like to take that as, a challenge to overcome my desire to control things and be able to let go more and be
right,
more accepting of life as it is. And I think if I can accomplish that, then I wouldn't even be able to get back in bodybuilding if I wanted to
right.
Yeah.
Do you think the
in a good way,
flowing
if that
do you,
makes sense.
do you think the flowing aspect that you're talking about, do you think that comes with experience? Like, were you like that from year one, or is that like something that you learned to do along the way? Because that's a really tough thing for a lot of bodybuilders early on.
No, yeah, it took me 10 years for sure,
Yeah,
10 years.
yeah,
But
okay,
that
yeah,
that was definitely the last 2 years I felt that the most,
mhm,
especially at the end of 2022's prep and the end of this prep. Like the I did a podcast with Jordan Peterson a while ago, and he put it so perfectly. He said that like mastery is the ability to do something at the highest level while playing.
yeah,
Like being
makes
able to
sense.
play and have fun and to
Yeah,
flow and to, and just like when I realized I like achieved that mastery is when I just started like I'm fucking around with people, I'm making jokes, I'm hanging out, I'm chilling. It turned off like it started off like you're just having fun bodybuilding, and then it becomes this like I have to be this like champion, locked in eyes, like stoic, like super intense, grinding, blah blah, blah. And then above that, I can be chill in this flow state, happy, having fun, laughing during peak week, hanging out, like when people talk about like, oh, he's in prep, he's 1 week out, like take it easy around him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I didn't want that. There's this
Right.
concept of like a loud room is a happy room or whatever. I
Yeah,
wanted my hotel room peak week of the Olympia to be people in there, to be laughing and talking and, you know, doing shit rather than like Chris is one we get like everyone tiptoe around and don't
Right.
piss them off
I'm,
or whatever, you know?
I'm
So
sure we can all
it,
attest to
the,
Fouad as well. Maybe you can. I can find a very direct correlation in my like success in bodybuilding to like my ability to be in that kind of mindset. You know, like when I started to
mm,
get at the point where I'm like, I got to lock in, got to be more like when thought I was trying to be what I needed to be better, I actually did worse and looked worse and enjoyed it less. And the years like, you know, in 2020, 2021, you know, when I was doing my best and I was kind of in that spot where, hey, if I'd wake up a day and, you know, I wasn't so like so tight knit with everything and there was a little bit more of a flow state to it. But then I got to a point where I'm like, okay, now I need to do better than what I've been doing. I play seventh 2 years in a row. What do I need to play sixth or fifth or fourth?
Right.
And
Right.
then I
Right.
thought the opposite. Like I thought I need to lock it down tighter and tighter and tighter to do better and better, which ended up actually working against me, you know?
I'm exactly, and that's the thing. It's like I think it's a maturity thing, and take like Chris said, took him 10 years, and that's why I
Well,
think it's hard for people in the beginning. Like I'll give you guys a really stupid fucking story that will kind of sum up the way my brain worked. I went to my sister's for family dinner one Sunday, and I didn't bring my food, and I'm like, I was there a little longer than I want to be. I'm like, fuck, I gotta eat. She's like, I'll make you a chicken breast, and I'm like, okay, but I can't have any salt, and I can't have any fucking oil, and I can't have any of this, I can't have any of that. So she makes me this fucking chicken breast. I don't know. She seasoned it with like whatever, and she put lemon juice on it. Blah blah blah. It was fucking delicious. It was incredible. And I was like, "What'd you do to this?" She's like, "Nothing. I didn't put it." I'm like, "It's fucking delicious." Would you? And I felt bad about myself because I enjoyed it because it tasted too good, and it wasn't like the shitty chicken breast I make at home. Because in
Yeah.
my mind, I was like, if you're not suffering, if you're not like grinding, if you're not hardcore, you're doing something wrong. So it kind of like sums up what we're talking about because it was like it's kind of like Chris is saying and what you're saying, Ian, is when you're not this is the thing. He was winning, so it's a little bit different story. But when you're not winning, you're like, how do I do more? And then you start doing more, and it actually makes you regress.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't start winning shows till I started working with John. When John was like, hey, just fucking
Bill.
back the fuck off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my body kind of like it was almost like there was like a breath of fresh air in my physique because I just took a log off the fire. You know what I mean?
well, do you think that because like Chris is one of the first people, the first person in our industry to like really have this crazy success. Do you think like you talking about it like you are and being as open as you are about it, like it's kind of I don't know, giving people the perspective to understand because not everybody gets to be the greatest. Not everybody
Right.
gets to be the greatest for a certain period of time. So a lot of the people that have been the greatest have been very locked in, stoic, like you were talking about. So I don't think anybody has ever had the success you've had with the mentality that you have and how open you talk about building your mentality over a decade to get here. So I mean, I'm excited just to kind of see how things transpire in the industry and what direction they go without you competing, because it'll open up people to talking more about it or how they are. Like me, I'm like I'm a loner. Like I'm in
Yeah.
my head all the time by myself. However, like with this concept that we're talking about, like and how regimented I am, I kind of find myself making more time. So I am like just happy. I'm like, this is cool. I get to eat my meals. I get to do my
But
training.
I just want to say this one thing though too. I don't think there's anything wrong with being
No, of course not.
stoic
Oh,
or like aggressive about it or like completely locked in. Like I feel like we're talking about it like in a really negative way, and I think it can be negative, but at the same time, like
mm.
I kind of personally enjoy that
I think
Well,
it's a
you need
as
personality.
long as it's not crippling you. Like
you
I
need to know
can't.
the
There's a
intent
time and
behind it.
place.
Yeah.
Sorry, want to go ahead,
Go ahead,
Chris?
Chris.
I would two things. There's a time and place for it. Absolutely. It's not a
Right,
bad thing. It's
right,
needed. There's still times where when I'm in my our player, my mastery is that locked in stoic
right,
thing.
right,
But I think the most interesting thing, especially the word stoicism, because it's such a fucking buzzword right now,
Oh
right,
yeah.
is that you can't try and be stoic, you know?
Yes.
right.
You can't try and
It's like
be
the
it.
opposite of it's like,
You master yourself and
yeah.
your emotion and everything that's in your control, and then stoicism ensues. You know, you
Hmm.
don't pursue it, it ensues. So
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
have to do the things first, and then you become stoic. So if you're like, oh, like anxious, crying, blah, this, and you're like, no, just lock it in.
Yeah.
then maybe that's not good. But if you have everything so under control and you're just so driven and you're really tired because you're in prep and you just are naturally like, I'm fucking locked in today, I'm gonna fuck this shit up.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. It's gonna make you better.
Yeah, that's
Right,
what I was
right,
saying.
right.
The intent behind is what matters, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you're locked in because
Mhm.
you're fucking scared, there's a problem. If you're locked in because you want to be, yeah.
No,
I
like
get it.
what I was saying, the years I was doing the best, I was still just as locked in, but I wasn't so locked in from like a negative standpoint.
You weren't doing it because you were
I
terrified.
was doing it because
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I was like, "This is just fun. I don't need to take it so seriously. I'm doing everything right, and that's okay. I don't need to like worry
Right.
about it so much." And then, like I said, I got to a point where I like thought I had to do the opposite to get better, which was obviously not the right way to go about it.
Chris, why is it that when you're on my podcast, it becomes a like a very, very cerebral event? When you're not here, we're talking about fucking
Oh, I shit in the shower.
Ian's shitting in the shower. We're talking about anal sex and like
Because they only come on once every 2 years. You can't talk about this shit every day. It's boring.
I know, but we need you to come on more so that we can talk about the other fun shit with you.
Hey, I gotta ask. So, I mean, I'm gonna ask just because I'm curious. There's
Don't ask him about anal sex.
two-parters. No. I'm not asking. Like, so the one video of you getting out of the sauna when you were like the dad bod, all those reels of like C-bum dad bod and you on stage. Like, do you ever see yourself getting a little thicker in the midsection? Like, do you?
I was
like,
curious
what's
about
the
that.
highest
too,
you
actually.
ever get to, or like the thickness of you? Like, I want to. Do you ever picture yourself like a little thicker in the
Like,
midsection?
Seth,
Like in
you're-
the future, do I want to get thicker?
No. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, this is it.
Or do I feel like it's
That's awesome.
Like, is this your thickest ever?
If this was dad bod,
I'd
Yeah,
love to
that's
have
what
this bad
people-
bod.
That's
Yeah.
what people were terming
Is
it.
there a video? Can you find the video of it?
YouTube.
Like, are you asking if in this moment I felt like I had a big belly?
Yeah, if that's like in your head, like, is that you're like, oh, I was super thick, or this is like
I didn't feel fat at the time, but that was me
You weren't.
being at my thickest. Yeah.
is that your thickest?
There were times where I felt like my face looks fat, but my body, no. But that was probably like about the thickest, yeah, I've ever
How
been.
much you weigh? How much did you weigh there?
I think they just used Chris as a thumbnail there.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
fucking got you on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the
I was
video is.
probably like, I don't remember that exact video, but the heaviest I got that year was like 265, maybe 268.
Okay,
Man.
Chris, I got a separate question that I think the whole world is asking that I don't even think you know the answer to, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If you win Prague, can we expect to see you at the Olympia again?
Yes.
Who knows?
Okay, so it's not a definite no.
I don't know.
All right. I like you got to leave hope for everybody. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Whether or not I know the answer in my mind, I'm going to say I don't know. And every year, I'm going to be like, should I get the special invite this year and tease it out there and get people fired up for no reason, you know?
He's gonna pull the Kai Green.
Kai Green
fucking
special.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Kai Green.
Yeah, I'll be Kai Green for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Except I'll be 220 pounds. So
Yeah. Chris, when you eat an apple, do you eat the whole apple or do you throw away the core?
So we
Look how
eat the
confused.
core?
Look how confused he is.
See?
I know.
Because he's like, who the fuck eats the core? That's
Chris, there are millions and millions and millions of probiotics in the core.
he eats the entire apple.
I ate
Just
the whole apple. I just
Even the seeds?
just right in there. Yeah,
I thought there was some weird like chemical in there. You're not
there's
supposed to
cyanide.
eat.
There's cyanide in the seeds, but you got to eat like 15 pounds of seeds to fucking
Yeah.
die.
We fine.
It's not like eating cherry pits. Like,
Yeah,
So he's
I
obviously
definitely
so the answer is no because he's absolutely confused by the question.
mortified by this fucking disgusting.
I think. I mean, I've eaten many a core lately. I think Macintosh has the best core.
See?
Simple to eat. Yep. Just
Seth,
right
so
down.
you can attest now. Eating the core is not that bad, right?
Should I
Yeah,
eat?
If I was
Right
sitting at
there.
an airport and saw you eat the core of an apple, just like stem and all, I would not get on the plane with you.
Okay, but hold on a minute. But hold on a minute. It's not that way. You're picturing me
Exactly
eating.
that way.
No,
It's
because
actually
listen.
that way, it
No.
is.
Wait a minute. Let me just explain. You're picturing me eating the apple like a traditional person eats the apple and leaves the core and just pops the core. That's not how it's done. You just instead of eating the apple in a circle the way people do, you just
Just
eat.
go straight.
Yeah, you go right through the core. So it's not like you're left with a core and then you just pop the core in your mouth. It's more like you're eating a bit of the core with your other bites.
That's weird. Yeah. I feel like you need a time lapse a video of you eating it and post it so I can
Okay.
witness this.
All right, I'm gonna. Okay, I'm gonna give you another weird one.
Over the next 5 minutes, I'll work on this, and then I'll eat the core as a
Listen,
finale.
start in the bottom corner.
So like down here.
Yeah, and just take a chunk out of it. That way you'll get piece of the core anyway, and it's not like then you're not eating like the core by itself.
But
Yeah,
then
like
you're eating the butthole, like you eat the whole part of it too.
You don't eat that.
I do.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Take that bite.
I'll take that bite right now. It's perfect. It's set
That's
up for
his first bite. Yeah. Take that bite.
Yeah, there you go.
You're like, that's weird.
See? Is it weird? It's not weird. Same.
I feel like a horse.
No, it's not that fucking weird. I'm telling you, everyone's gonna start eating apple cores, and they'll realize it's not that big a deal.
I had
If I wasn't so lazy, I would peel the apple too and just eat
Would you really?
the nice part of it. If I don't, because I'm lazy, but I would.
Yeah, James is like that. James said that he likes to cut up his apples into little like cubes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of work, man. I don't know, just fucking.
One of my most fond memories was my grandpap cutting an apple up with his pocket knife.
Yeah.
I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So now, like, I do it with my kids, and they're like, "Oh, it's the coolest thing in the world." I'm like, I just stuck this knife in the dirt, but it's fine.
I was always jealous of guys like that. I always had a knife on them. I can never do it. I don't like shit in my pockets.
Oh,
Yeah.
You got one, don't you, Seth?
Yes.
You're that guy. You have a knife on you at all times.
Pocket knife, lighter, every key for all the buildings. I am the janitor. Like,
wait a minute. Why do you have you don't smoke? Why do you have a lighter?
For smoking the darts, but
yeah, dude.
What do you have a lighter
So
for?
whenever I was 12 years old, my uncle, we were out coon hunting. We were deer hunting and coon hunting, and like he's like, "Hey, you got a lighter?"
Just say raccoon.
Raccoon.
You were hunting what? Sorry.
Fucking Ian.
So it was nighttime, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "You got a lighter on you?" And I said, "No," and he's like, "You should always have a lighter on you." And it like burned a memory because he like made me feel like such a pussy when I was 12 years old. So ever since then, I had a pocket knife, lighter, and then my dad always had the keys to the building. So now I have,
the keys thing. I understand. The knife I understand. The lighter thing, I'm like,
Well, now he was an outdoorsman. My uncle was a master.
I guess if you're an outdoors guy, it's like totally fits.
Yeah. And if you wear jeans everywhere too, it's easier.
See, Fouad carries a lighter everywhere, but it's stuck in the pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, I put it all together and I roll it in my sleeve.
I roll it in the sleeve.
Chris, do you take your dog to the groomer or do you bathe your dog yourself?
The groomer comes to us.
Oh, the groomer comes to you.
We have like a Sprinter van that pulls up, plugs in the side of our house, and they take her out in the driveway.
That's amazing. I would do that if we had that.
Ask him the real question, Fouad.
Yeah,
well, it does. I don't have to ask it anymore because he already he doesn't even wash his own dog.
Well, you still need to ask it to get the opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
Seth, you ask him because Fouad will fucking Jimmy.
No, I'm just gonna ask it normal.
You're not. You're gonna fucking give some caveat to this bullshit.
Okay, if you take a shower,
if
you're taking a shower, you got to walk in shower, and you're taking a shower, and your dog needs a bath like once every couple months. Would you open the shower door and let him come in and just give him a bath and then get him out?
You're naked, by the way.
No, you're in the shower. Of course, you're naked. You're not gonna wear a bathing suit in the shower.
Well, to shower your dog, you might.
Well, no, because you're already in there, and then you're like, I gotta bathe the dog. You just let him in.
It's hard for me to even picture this because my dog can't even stand on a tile floor, so she only stands on carpet. There's a little French bulldog with like gimp legs. So, like, would I do that? Absolutely not. But would I do it either way?
Absolutely not.
If you were gonna wash your dog in the shower, would you wear a bathing suit?
I would just pull down the thing and spray them outside of it. I wouldn't wear.
So you would stay. You would stay out of the shower, and you would just
Yeah.
But that's a tiny dog.
I've never had a big dog.
Wait a minute. I would do that with a friend, like my Frenchie. When I bathe him, I don't bring him in the shower. I do it in the bathtub.
Get naked with your dog and squat right down with your fucking balls hanging there and just showering the dog.
You're so fucking.
Yeah, no.
You're such an asshole.
No, I'm good.
All right. What else do we have for Chris? What other bro chat questions before we go?
How was it?
How was what?
The apple.
I'm not. I'm
Oh,
You're not doing it right. So you're leaving the
okay.
core.
Well, I
that's
want to
pretty
take
right.
this.
That's pretty good.
Right now.
Yeah, there's like
Right-
no seeds.
Yeah,
in it.
right there. Just take that out right there. Right. The rest of it's perfect. There's nothing left now. It's just all good stuff. Well, you got a little bit of core
But
left.
there's the top. Isn't there a stem? Do you eat the stem?
No, I take the stem out.
Okay.
Because he's a pussy. So
You're wasting nutrients.
yeah, it's all in there, dude.
You know, it's funny when you think you're normal and then you start asking people stuff that like you do on a daily basis. You're like, oh, I'm not that normal.
Yeah.
Things are actually
Yeah,
fucking.
chatting with your dog. Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. It's not that
Or
fucking weird. First of
Brushing your
all,
teeth in the shower.
Wait, so did you do it naked or in a bathing suit?
naked.
He's like, what the fuck?
Just picture like a video of that being leaked too. You know?
Yeah, that got out.
No.
It was what you would think it's bad if you saw it. You know?
I think people who think it's weird are fucked up because then you're like, it's not sexual. You're washing your fucking dog. Like it's
Yeah,
not,
why are you naked.
but it's not sexual. You fucking idiot. It's not like,
It's not about being sexual. It's just like sanitary too, and just weird, you know?
Mhm.
it's not really insanitary. You're both showering. Like you like you wash your
We're both-
dog.
We're
You
both
wash-
studded
You
up.
wash
We
his
got
back and then
soap
turn
all
around and
over
he
us.
washes yours or what?
Okay, can we not talk about this anymore? No, you wash the dog, you get the dog out, the wife takes the dog, dries him off, and then you shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody's sanitary and clean. Okay, anyway.
Trying
can
to
we
save
move-
money on water, you know?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of money. I don't want to I need to keep the hydro bill down. Just do it all at once.
5 minutes of hot water.
Okay. Towel. How many showers
Oh,
before you throw a towel in the laundry?
Oh, I used to be really bad for this. It would be like weeks.
Really?
But now it's like 2 or 3 days, maybe.
Is it because your wife does it or you have like a maid or something? Or is it yeah, okay.
Yeah, no. Courtney's very sanitary, so
So left to your own
Exactly.
devices, it would be the same towel for a month.
probably, yeah. I also have a system now where I'll use it like for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then when I go out in the cold tub and sauna, I'll take that one with me and then
Okay.
I wash it. And then I get a new one. And so I do that every 2 or 3 days. So it kind of turns into a little cycle. But when I was young, dumb college student, had one towel to my name. It was pretty gross, yeah.
All right, I want to ask you this since you brought that up, and on a more serious note, the cold tub the cold tub sauna combo. I'm thinking about getting one. Is that something you use all the time, or is it just prep
All the time.
all the time?
I don't think it's necessarily great for bodybuilding, honestly.
No, just like your
It's
own
just, I
personal.
think
I'm not saying like on a health thing. I just mean like you just like doing it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Why I don't only do it in prep. I do it all the time because I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, you feel good. I'm a big detox guy now. You know, I take
Okay.
charcoal binders and shit and glutathione before I go in every time and try and just sweat my dick off. And then it feels great to get in the cold tub after. And you know, if you can get through like back and forth a couple times,
Yeah.
and like not be on your phone or distracting yourself from doing anything, you
Yeah.
come out of the cold tub after one time and you're like euphoric, you know? I can
Yeah.
like lay out in the sun and just like meditate, but actually just like you're just not thinking of anything because your body's so like fucked up, flushing all the blood stuff through you.
Then he lays out and suns his
Okay.
perineum, you know?
So,
Yeah.
Chris, you're obviously at the level you're at, the level of popularity and all that. Your phone's probably blowing up nonstop. Do you have to do you detox from your phone? Like, is there ever days where you're like, you know what? No matter who calls me, I'm just not going to answer. Like, or do you have a select group of people that you answer no matter who, like, no matter when it is?
I have a select group of people that I'll answer no matter what, and then people typically go down the list, and if they get too far down, I completely forget, and then I feel guilty when I text them and
Yeah.
I see that I haven't replied to them. But
We
it's
gotta do it.
definitely
We got to do a test right now then of how many unread messages Chris has.
It's probably thousands.
See what your number is. What's your
Well.
number right now, Fouad?
Zero.
Zero?
I read all my messages.
What does it say?
100? No, 302.
102.
302. Holy
I
fuck.
have I have 29.
I read all my messages. I have zero unread messages.
What do you
Seth?
have, Seth?
way too many.
What's the
Seriously?
number?
Oh, this phone, I still have old shit on here from
Why do
years.
you guys have unread messages? You're not that fucking popular.
More popular than you, apparently.
No, seriously.
No one's texting Fouad.
Seriously. No, wait a minute. No, seriously. How hard is it to answer your fucking text? You're not that busy, Ian. You're at home eating and watching TV all day long.
Well, jealous. It's okay. I understand.
I'm not jealous. I actually don't care. I'm just asking. I'm asking you seriously. You sit at home, watch
There are
TV.
probably messages that like I don't have anything in recent history. Okay, no, I have a few that are like recent, like over the day, like what there's a couple there.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. There's like 4 or 5 a day. It's no big deal. But I'm saying like 30.
A lot of them honestly are like fucking Hydro One alert, like Ottawa. It's like alerts and shit.
So you're trying to make yourself feel more popular by leaving junk mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I
I was
probably have
waiting for
about
this exact moment, and I was putting that number up.
That's why you brought the question
Build it
up.
up.
That's why you brought the question up.
Like,
Okay.
hey, I got 29.
Chris,
To be fair, I probably still have like 100 of people saying, "Congrats on winning the Olympia," that I didn't even open yet. That I also feel bad about. But
Chris, I'm going to let you go because I don't want to keep you too long. I know you said you didn't have too much time, but I want to ask you this: at your level of popularity and celebrity, is it hard to go about normal life, or is it not like that? Because it's kind of, I know you've crossed into mainstream. You're not just bodybuilding popular, but like if you go out to the grocery store, if you're at the fucking mall and shit, like, are you having like a celebrity tough time with life, or is it like it's not that bad?
not celebrity, no. And
No.
it depends where I am. If I'm in like Port St. Lucie, Florida, and I go to Sprouts, it's not so bad. When I'm in Dallas, Texas,
Right.
it's brutal. If I
Okay.
go to a gym, absolutely not, obviously. But like when we're at like a restaurant or something that's like off the beaten path, maybe 2 people will recognize me, But I don't know. I don't go to the mall, or often don't go to grocery stores either. I don't really leave my house very often. So.
Yeah.
But it's not definitely not like a true celebrity. I'm like leaked into the mainstream a little bit, but it's not actually mainstream.
What do you think? Like I
big.
said, I'm asking you a bunch of questions that I know you don't know the answer to necessarily, but I just want to get your thought on it anyway. Do you think there's something else other than business? I know you're obviously very passionate about your businesses. Is there something else, maybe on a physical side of things, or a hobby that you're gonna turn your attention to post bodybuilding?
Mm, I mean, training will change, obviously.
Yeah.
I want to find like a blend of being able to be like still look big and jack, but being more athletic.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to run far, but I want to be able to like run 1 mile really fast and dunk a basketball and do X, Y, and Z. And I'd like to get really good at snowboarding again. Who? Paul?
Dunking a basketball.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah.
Paul's dream is to dunk a basketball. So
Paul would literally give up all his material possessions to be able to dunk a basketball. Yeah.
I'll let him come down and train with me for it.
Yeah.
so there's
Nothing crazy.
so there's no
I
other
would like
hobby.
to be able to like power clean, like
Okay.
Olympic lifting.
What about
I kinda wanna
outside
get
of
into that?
what about outside of lifting? Is there something else? Like, do you want to race cars? Do you want to like? Is there something else that you're interested in other than business and bodybuilding? Because I know you're kind of a
There's
car
nothing
guy. Like
crazy.
I've seen a couple of your cars. They're pretty fucking badass. So I'm like, is that a thing, or is that just
I
a
do
hobby?
like cars.
Yeah.
And I would like to get on the track, but I don't think I'll ever be a guy spending hours every week on the track to be good at it. I was shooting a little bit last year. I would like to go hunting, That's also just for like an aspect of like being outside at peace, and you talk about disconnecting from my phone, being forced to like not
Right.
be on it and just be out and wild. That's something that like, I grew up in Canada, and Ian got into it later, but guns were like, you don't look at them, don't touch them, don't talk about them. So
Right.
living in America now, I would like to do something like that, but
Little
there's
bit
nothing
different.
really like at the top of my list.
Okay. Guys, do you have any questions for Chris? I don't want to keep him any longer. He's been on for a little while longer than we anticipated. Seth?
Are you going to have, or do you and Courtney plan on having more kids?
Absolutely, yeah. If we're lucky enough, I
man.
would love to have a couple more, yeah.
You want to have like 3 max, or like you want to have like a gaggle? You want to have like 6?
We talked about having like 4 or 5, and now that we have one, we're like, ooh, this is a lot,
It gets way easier with more. It's way easier with more. It does.
With more?
Yeah, having more
Yeah, I mean,
is a blast. Yes.
See, that's when they're older, I feel like everyone's always like, fuck, I wish I had more. Because then, but when you have
Uh,
like an infant and it's
Yeah.
constant, then
it
you don't
is
really feel the same way. So
it
Yeah.
is a crazy feeling because he's 4, and we were looking at pictures last night. Hannah and I were out to eat together, and we were looking at pictures of the kids when they were young and everything. And I'm like, this is insane because Adeline's going to be 17 and she's going to be going off to college. And I'm like, how did I get this old? But it's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. More
Ian?
kids, boys, girls.
whatever we get. I'm
Actually,
definitely happy to have a girl now, though. But
that was a question that came to mind before you go. If your daughter or if you have a son wants to compete, how would you feel about that?
I mean, I'm not gonna not let them do something they really want to do, but I will probably try and educate them in a way to steer them away from it,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure. Especially your
No,
daughter.
I feel the same
But
way. I feel the same way, but a lot of people then call us hypocrites, and like people
Yeah.
said in comments and stuff, and I'm like, but like you said, I wouldn't if my kids want to do it,
But
I'm
I
not going to
don't
turn them away from it. But it is an intense sport.
look, I don't
yeah,
have kids, but to me, you always want your kids to be better than you are, number one. And number two, you don't want to steer your kids down a path that could hurt them. And we all know the risks of
Mhm.
bodybuilding. So I don't think it's hypocritical to say I'd rather have them avoid some of these risks if
Well,
possible.
it's experience gained, and that teaches you lessons that you try to pass on to your kids, and that's all you can
Right.
do, right?
yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah. It's tough because like there's this concept I was thinking about because like I don't know how to fucking be a parent yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. But there's all these things that we've all been through that fucking sucked that we would never want our children to go through,
Right.
but they made us who we are. They
Right.
made us accomplish things that we're proud of and resilience and all these things, but we would never wish that on our children. So
Right.
it's like this that balance of like where do you let them go and fall and fucking learn and all these things. And a lot of people look at how successful people want their life, but they wouldn't want to go through what they went through.
Right.
But with your children, you got to put them through some hard shit so they fucking learn how to be able to handle it. But to what
Yeah.
extent? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Okay, Chris, I'm gonna wrap it there just because like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time. But hopefully you'll come back soon and we can ask you more dumb shower, Apple, towel questions. So we can get some
Sounds
laughs.
good. I
And
expect you to have a list ready for me.
I will have a really shitty list next time instead of like such a cerebral podcast. But listen, I appreciate you taking the time. Good luck in Prague.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a tough show. How do you think?
You got any questions about Prague? Yeah,
Well, everybody's going to ask the questions about
that's
Prague.
already good.
I wanted to make it something a little different, but just before you go, I know Martin is your main competition, but Sean is also a 212 Mr. Olympia, so he's got to be in the discussion. Can you give us a prediction at all, or is that not something you want to do?
I mean, I can speculate, I guess, or say like I don't think I'm going to beat Martin, honestly. I
Okay.
would be shocked if I did. I don't know what I'm going to look like next to him, honestly. I would like to beat Sean for sure. Maybe it's an ego thing. Like I weigh,
You're
what's
like,
he, 180?
Maybe it's an
yeah,
ego thing.
I weigh 70 pounds more than him. It's like
yeah,
clearly I
yeah,
would like to be someone I'm 70 pounds heavier than. And some of the other guys, I don't know. That horse guy is someone
yeah,
people have compared to me a lot.
yeah.
And he was going to do classic, and everyone was like, he's going to be the guy to beat Chris in classic. But he was like 15 pounds over his stage weight. So clearly he's much
Right,
bigger than me.
right.
Got a good physique, an aesthetic physique. So I feel like that would be a challenge for me to even beat him. And
Sure.
is Akeem doing the show?
No, Akeem and Raphael apparently are
No,
both confirmed that they're not doing the show.
they're,
It's
they're
Romania.
both not doing it.
They're both doing Romania, and they're not. I mean, not to talk about you like you're not here, Chris, but that's kind of fucking silly. If I was either one of those guys, I'd be like, I am doing the show just because it's going to be a historic
Right?
event, right?
Yes.
So
I feel like
hopefully,
people have compared me to Raphael my whole career too. It's
yeah,
like if
yeah,
Chris went open and he put on some size, maybe he would look like Raphael. So I
there
feel
I
is,
think
like,
I think you and
if I were
Rafa
him, I'd want
is
to.
the best comparison. That would be the most interesting. Like obviously, you and Martin is interesting because he's coming off a stellar, rookie Olympia, and you're, who you are in the industry, and your physiques are such a contrast. So like, there's that fun, but then there's also the fun of like Raphael is like a classic open guy.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like seeing Chris
Mhm.
next to like Cedric or these guys, guys that are like, when people talk like, imagine if these guys were in classic, to see a guy like that that's in the open against Chris is even more an exciting discussion than Martin.
right,
Like Martin's an amazing bodybuilder, but it's such a contrast of a
It's the
physique.
apples and oranges, yeah.
It's apples and oranges. So it's like, okay, if Martin wins, you can understand. If Chris wins, you can understand. There's different things, and it's not the same. Versus like if Raphael and Chris have very similar structure, the high lat insertions, flaring quads, like, you know, very similar in a lot of their structure. And now you're seeing them compared. It's like, okay, now what takes it in that, you know?
Yeah, I'm hoping people can talk Raf into or Akeem, because I think Akeem is also, even though Akeem and Chris don't look the same and they don't have similar structures, I still think it's an awesome thing to see, because somebody like Akeem is somebody who exemplifies open bodybuilding.
Yeah,
he's just a fucking mass monster with a ton of fucking muscle,
but still has good shape.
Right. So, but I mean, I think that is a cool contrast to see somebody like with Akeem's mass standing next to Chris with his aesthetics.
Yeah.
So hopefully those two guys will change their mind. I mean, it's only a week apart. I don't know why you wouldn't. Yeah. Unless, you know, so I don't know.
And you're already in Romania, which like I don't think is that far from Prague.
I wish I could go.
Travel in Europe is cheap and it's like easy and close. It's like, fuck, bro, you're just there. Just hop over, spend the week in Prague, enjoy the week, and then do another show, you know?
If I fly to Prague, will you get drunk with me after the show?
I will definitely get drunk with you.
Chris, will you get drunk with? I'm asking both of you.
Probably
Chris,
not, no. Maybe next time I'm in Toronto when I'm not a day post show, I'll get drunk with you guys. But
okay.
Not after
All right, I'm gonna wrap it there. Chris, thank you for your time. Boys, I'll probably see you on Tuesday or something.
Yep.
And yeah.
No, I won't see you Tuesday, but I'm going to Turkey on Tuesday.
Oh, you're not on this week?
No, I'm gone. Well, I mean, I can do it, but it'll be.
Who's gonna cut me off 100 times?
I'll take his place.
Who's gonna make fun of me for showering with my dog?
Shut up, Fouad.
Seth will fill in.
Seth will fill in for you.
I'll send him the script of like dudes, you know? Like, make sure you cut him off. Make sure you don't let him talk about this, you know?
Okay.
I'm an idiot. I'm in.
Yeah.
Chris,
make as many Arab jokes as possible is key, you know?
He can't be. He's not racist like you are. You're a special breed.
You're put a little leopard in, you know?
You're a special breed of racist.
Look
you're
at the wall behind him. He's got to be a little racist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Actually,
little. It's in there.
He's out coon hunting, you know?
Yeah. Oh, fucking please, Ian, don't.
I had to do it. I'm sorry.
Okay. Boys, thank you very much. Chris, good luck in Prague, man. We'll be rooting for you.
Appreciate
okay,
it.
man. Take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.